Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. Creative people, how they do it, why they do it, how they hang in there, what their lives are like, and how they keep it going. I love to talk about that stuff. But today I have something a little bit different for you. I was going to play some excerpts for this week's episode from the MisMatch Game, which happened on Saturday night. It was our MisMatch Game Future Shock Edition 2029, and we were pretending it was 2029. So I recorded the audio through the board, but it all ended up on one channel. So anyway, it's going to take a little more finessing on my part to be able to bring you that. But it was super fun, and I will bring it to you soon. So for this week on the Dennis Anyone podcast feed, I'm going to share this week's Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay, which is my podcast that runs on Patreon and Substack for subscribers, and I do it every week, and it has some of the same elements as Dennis Anyone. There's lots of So This Happened. There's some pop culture-y stuff. I talk about And Just Like That, the finale of that, which my thoughts may surprise you. And I also share some musings on happiness, the science of it, things that I've learned, things that I'm reading about, tips I've picked up, and tools that have helped me. I'm really interested in that topic, and I love sharing those things and thinking and learning about it. So that's in there too. If you like what you hear, I would love for you to become a subscriber. Go to Patreon or Substack and search Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. It's the same content on both of those, whichever you prefer. And I provide some free content on there occasionally, but typically it's $5 a month and you get an episode a week, kind of like what you're just now hearing. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that there are other ways you can support the podcast if you're into it. I have a virtual tip jar at DennisAnyone.net, also a thing there called Buy Me a Coffee. If you just want to kick in a little and say you appreciate it, I always love that. The other thing you can do is consider becoming a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of a group of fun shows under the Derek and Romaine podcast banner, and for a monthly fee, you get my show early, and you get all these other great shows. So check that out at dnrstudios.com. Finally, I got nominated for a podcast award from the prestigious Podcast Awards. That's what they're called. And I'm nominated for Best LGBTQ Show. So there's some other great nominees in there. So we'll see what happens. But if you nominated me, thank you very much. And some people that nominated get the opportunity to vote for the final. Not everyone does. But if you did get an email, make sure to vote. And vote for me, and also vote for my friend Romaine Patterson in her categories for the Dildo Whisperer, which is her show. So anyway, the winners are announced near the end of September, so right around my birthday. So there's that. Oh, that reminds me, I have to make a speech. I have to do a speech, a video speech, in case I win. Like, I have to do that thing where I pretend that I won, kind of like RuPaul's Drag Race. Oh man, I forgot about that. All right, I have a little time. I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's a lot. So here's an episode of Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay with lots of So This Happened and some other fun stuff, and I hope you enjoy it.
Now it's time for Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. It's an all good vibes spin-off of the Dennis Anyone podcast. I'm your announcer, AI calm, soothing, meditative, Milo. And now here's your host, Dennis Hensley.
Hello and welcome to Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. How about that Milo voice, the calm, soothing, meditative Milo? He really can kind of drag it out. And I like the way he said, and gay, like he almost couldn't believe it. And gay. Like, really? Dennis Hensley's gay? Like, I mean, he just seemed a little stunned. And I have enough internalized homophobia left to decide that that's a compliment. Anyway, welcome. My voice is a little bit better. I'm not totally out of the woods yet, but much better than it was. I went to a doctor and had a camera stuck down my nose. And then he showed it to me afterwards, the video. And that was really interesting. It looked like a Fantastic Voyage, one of those movies where people inner space, where they go into the innards, like a person goes into the innards. Nothing was particularly noteworthy about it. Still a little sinusy and throaty, but managing, and a lot going on. So let's get into it.
And now it's time for So This Happened.
Okay, so this happened. A lot happened recently, so I'm just going to work backwards. Today is Monday. I went to San Diego on Sunday, like a last-minute kind of decision to take the train down there. and I went to the Film Out San Diego Film Festival. Outfest, the gay film festival in LA, has been on a bit of a forced hiatus the last few years. I don't know. There's organizational money problems, some stuff going on. Hopefully it will come back, but it's one of my favorite times of the year. I love being able to see gay movies from all over the world and also just the social aspect of it. And so I decided I'm going to catch the last day of the San Diego Festival. And the programmer there, Michael McQuiggan, is a Facebook friend, and he was very nice to hook me up a little bit because I had films there in the past. And he's like, since you're an alumni, I'm going to hook you up a little bit. So that was so nice of him. And I ended up going to see 2 movies. One was called Sauna, and it's from Copenhagen. And it's about this young man, very attractive blonde guy who works in a bathhouse in Copenhagen and falls in love with a trans man who is in the middle of a transition, and complications ensue. And it was really interesting. He was a character that was like, you could tell he means well, but he keeps doing these things that are impulsive and that cause problems. And it wasn't the movie that I thought it was going to be with the title Sauna, but I was into it. And I'm really glad I saw it. And it had been at Sundance, I think, in January. So I thought it was good. And I thought the acting was good. And there was an argument scene near the end between the 2 lovers that really brought me to tears. And so keep an eye out for that. And the other movie that I saw was called 300 Letters, 300 Cartas, 300 Cartas. It's from Argentina. And it's a story of a love affair told backwards, as one of the characters dumps the other one and gives them a box of 300 letters that they wrote during the relationship to sort of explain how it works. It's a romantic comedy. It didn't go where I thought it was going to go. The acting is really good, especially the lead actor that gets dumped. Like, you really felt his heartbreak. And he was arguably the hotter of the 2. So usually in those movies where there's like the hunk and then the bookish writer guy that's always a stand-in for the filmmaker, it's always the bookish writer guy that gets dumped and the hunk that lives, that has it all together. Well, in this one, the hunk gets dumped and the other guy is, he's not maybe as sympathetic as the hunk. So there's that. I enjoyed watching it. And the cool thing about San Diego is I have friends down there, and all 3 of them that I had talked to recently were able to reach out to hang out. And so my friend Joel picked me up from the train, and he is a Xanadu fan. That's kind of how I know him, through that whole group. And before the movie, he showed me his Olivia Newton-John collection, and you guys, it is no joke. He is hardcore. It was amazing to see all the different things that he had, and different autographed pieces and things that he'd gotten on her auction, like pieces of furniture. And he has a collection of all these different 45s and albums from different countries. And he has multiple ones from different countries if there's enough different about it than the other one. Like, this one has the small hole where you put that goes on the record player, and this one has the bigger hole. But otherwise, they're both Belgian. Like, it was like he's no joke. And it was really fun to see all of that stuff. My favorite thing he had, though, and I think you can get these made online, is it's like a magnet for your refrigerator that's like a square about the size of, an oversized Post-it maybe. And it has an image on the front, and then you push on it and it plays a song. So he had one for Xanadu and one for Magic on his. So you could just be puttering around the kitchen and being like, I want to hear Magic, and hit the button, and there it is. So that was really cool. And it was very nice of Joel to pick me up and show me around. And then we went to coffee at this place called Better Buzz in San Diego. It's the most glorious coffee house I've ever been in. It's like 2 stories, beautiful design and architecture and furnishings, and kind of like restoration hardware-y, like steampunky, like just cool fonts. And the drink I had was delicious, and so was the bagel. And just like, if I lived in San Diego, I would go hang out at this place and write all day long, because there was lots of room. There was like an upstairs part. Anyway, I was all about Better Buzz, really into it. And then we met up with another friend of mine named Ari, who is a flight attendant, and I've known him for probably like 6 or 7 years. And he was available to hang out, and he ended up going to the movie with me. And then we met up with my other friend, Jake, who is my yoga teacher friend, and he was able to go to the second movie and drop me off at the train. So it was like everything worked out, and it was a last-minute decision to do it the day before I had done the MisMatch Game. So I was like, am I going to be up for this? But, you got to grab things where you can. And I have friends that have been taking like bigger vacations, and I just can't afford to do anything like that right now. But I was able to do this day trip getaway, take the train down there, and it was just what the doctor ordered. And also Balboa Park is where the film festival was. It's gorgeous. Like, it's big and spread out, and they have all these different museums, and the architecture's cool, and it's just a cool place to be. So thumbs up on that trip. It worked out really well. I was into it. And then the night before that, we had the MisMatch Game, and I think I'm going to make an episode out of it, of the regular podcast, because there was some really funny material, depending on how the audio turns out. But the theme was Future Shock Edition, and we pretended it was 2029, and that Trumpism was over. It was a leap, I know. And Jennifer Coolidge was one of the panelists, and we decided that she's the president of the United States. And from Drag Race, Silky Nutmeg Minaj, Silky Mugmeg, whatever that is, she's the vice president. Don't know how that happened, but it did. And we were all pretending that it was 2029. And so the questions were set in the future, and it was like, a sex tape of Oprah and Gayle from the 80s leaked this week. Both ladies are claiming it's deep fake and AI, but I think it might be real because after they had sex, they spent the next 25 minutes blank. So it was stuff like that. Kim Kardashian found the cure for cancer while testing a line of new holistic douches. And, so there you go. There was that. I had one really positive question, which is that Britney Spears is at the Sphere in Las Vegas, killing it. A triumph professionally and personally. So those were the types of questions that we had. The panel was Drew Droege as Tanya Roberts. Jackie Beat did B. Arthur, but she came in this futuristic, all silver outfit with the silver puffer jacket, and she claimed she was a robot who was self-lubricated whenever Morgan Freeman would speak. And just the B. Arthur robotic is just amazing. There's pictures on my Instagram, I believe. And then we had Mark Samuel as Morgan Freeman. We had Rebecca Cochin as Jennifer Coolidge, President Jennifer Coolidge. We had Felix Pyre did Pedro Pascal for the first time, and he got a nose that looks like Pedro, and he really looked like him. It was fun. And then Chris Pudlow usually does Pee Wee Herman, but he decided he wanted to do Faye Dunaway instead. And the Faye wig alone deserves a standing ovation. He looked stunning in that wig, and it was a great new character. Very direct, very no-nonsense diva. She, maybe there might have been some complaints about the lighting and all of this stuff, but we made $4,300 for the Gay and Lesbian Center, and people had a good time. It was a good feeling in the room. I was a bit nervous because there was all of these new elements, this high concept thing. But we had, I'm going to ignore this phone call because it's probably somebody wanting to do a loan. I'm getting a lot of those. And so I'm just leaving that in. The other cool thing was we showed these dance videos that, my friend Fred and my friend Isaac, who I met on the commercial recently, we danced in these videos. My friend Matt Zarley shot and edited them. And we had these little, 45-second interstitial videos between rounds. And I wanted to show them and do them because I thought it would be fun, and dancing is part of my thing more and more. And I was like, why not of it all? But as they were unfolding, I'm like, this is going on forever. Like, I just felt like, I don't know if people were into it or what they thought, but it was fun. We did it. People seemed to like them. And, I had another epiphany about dancing, which I will share in a bit. But it was cool. And that was a MisMatch Game. And then what happened before that? Let me look at my phone and let me see the goings on. Oh, my friend Benji had an outdoor dance class at the Ovation in Hollywood, which is the old Hollywood and Highland. And it was a vibe. We danced in the courtyard, And they do all kinds of fun stuff there now. Like, they've got film screenings. This week they're showing The Goonies, which I've never seen, if you can believe it. So the Ovation is a destination. They're trying. It was always kind of a weird place. The other fun thing, I got to hook up with my friend Tom Goss, the singer-songwriter who's been on the road for 3 months. He's back, and we met up for a sandwich and a catch-up, and that was good. I don't know if anything else really, so this happened. That was a lot. Oh, here's something that happened, and I'm going to share this with you. So let's see, like on Thursday or Friday, I got reached out to for my dance agency, and and it was 2 different agents reaching out around the same time. Anyway, long story short, there are 2 commercials that I might do, and they didn't even need to see auditions. They looked at the photo and the Instagram, and they needed an older guy. And so the catch is I am being considered for cataract surgery, and I can't wear my contacts for 6 weeks. And I'm about 4 weeks in, 3.5 weeks. So if they were to use me, I'd have to wear my glasses or try to dance with nothing. And I tried that during these little MisMatch videos, and I can't see anything, man. So it's a possibility. But anyway, I may end up getting at least one, or maybe, I don't know. I think they shoot at the same time. So the dancing is suddenly popping off last week. I will keep you posted about that. But I realized something about it generally, which is when I first got the agent, I kind of felt like I had an imposter syndrome kind of thing going on, where I felt like I wasn't, when I was younger, there were so many really great dancers that were dancing circles around me and all that stuff. And so I always felt kind of like, and I didn't have the great body, and I couldn't do tricks, and, there was a lot. And so coming back into it, I still have a bit of that thing going on. But what I realized that I do have is I'm one of the last ones standing. And also I have a lot of joy around dancing, and that's what they're paying for. So if you want to see somebody feeling themselves, to put it bluntly, but like when Travolta dances in Saturday Night Fever, what's delightful about it is, yes, he's sexy and he's talented and he's got the moves, but he's fucking feeling himself. And that's fun to watch for an audience. And I think that if you can connect to that, there's something marketable about that, especially when it comes to commercials and stuff. Like, oh, that guy isn't shy. He's enjoying himself. There's joy there. He's kind of in it. He's kind of into it. And that can be fun to watch. And that's a marketable thing that I have. And so I'm going to try to lean into that more. So that was my epiphany. So that's a lot of, so this happened. But yeah, we'll wrap it up with that. So on to the next.
And now it's time for the observation deck.
All right. My guest this week on the podcast, the regular podcast, was Bryan Cooper. He's one of the producers of Cinecon 61. It's this classic film festival for rarely seen movies. And so I asked him a series of movie-related questions from the observation deck. Check it out. I'm going to give you all my observation deck movie questions, and you can run with them. What movie have you seen the most times?
So I'm going to say Springtime in the Rockies.
And that's Betty Grable.
Yeah.
Why do you love that one in particular?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, because it was the first one that I saw.
Yeah.
Also because I feel like it's an almost perfect movie musical. It's not only beautiful Technicolor, and the stupidest plot ever.
Yeah.
But it just works. There's just something about it that just really, really works. Yeah. And it was contemporary. So it was 1942. It was contemporary to that time. Yeah. So like the costumes and the sets are just gorgeous. Look, it's really not a classic,
right?
But it just resonated with me.
But you love it. You love it. What movie did you see when you were way too young to see it?
I saw a movie called The Tin Drum.
Right on.
And I remember I was watching it with my sister, and all of a sudden there was this scene where like all these little boys are like peeing on another boy or something. It's like, and she like got up and like ran over and changed the channel. She was like, "You can't see that." And I remember my parents took me to a movie called Fitzgeraldo or something.
Yeah, or Fitzcarraldo? No, Fitzcarraldo.
Is it about like a sinking submarine or something?
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have seen that movie.
No. You don't need to be worried about submarines. Let's go back to the peeing on the other boy. Like, what's happening? Was it a kind of bullying thing, or?
It was like what was it? It was like it was like a bullying thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it took place during World War II, and I didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I think I saw, what was that? There was another movie that I saw that I wasn't supposed to see, and now it's like, it has something like Endless Love or something Love in the title.
Yeah.
It would come out in the early 80s, so I'm being
Endless Love was Brooke Shields and Martin Hewitt, and it was sexy.
I think that maybe was it. I was ready for that. I thought that sex was the difference between a boy and a girl.
Right.
At that point.
Turns out it's something you do.
I didn't know I didn't know it was an action.
Right.
Yeah.
It was Brooke Shields' follow-up to Blue Lagoon.
Right.
So there's that. Okay. What movie costume do you wish you owned so you could wear it around the house? And assume it fits perfect, no matter what, the actor was.
Oh, my God. Okay.
I'll tell mine. I want to wear Tony Manero, Saturday Night Fever, but not the white suit. The Dusty Rose slacks with the tight disco shirt that he's wearing when he gets ready and does the blow drying and the bikini underwear and the Al Pacino on the wall. Yeah.
That's really good.
The zip up over the crotch shot. We know what we're talking about.
That would look great on you, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. You have the form for that.
People say Dusty Rose is past its sell by date, but I still believe in it. Especially if it's the dustier, the better. Right.
So there's like sand in your crevices?
Sure,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a good feeling. This is really hard. I mean, look, if I could have been alive and been one of Betty Grable's backup dancers in one of her movies, I would have been that would have been just fine with me.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, if I could have worn one of the she does this number in Billy Rose's Diamond Horseshoe called In Acapulco.
Yep.
And there's these really amazing, like, sexy backup boy dancers and like costumes that like have these bare midriffs, but you couldn't show the belly button. Yeah, I mean, I would have to have an entirely different body for this.
No, in this fantasy, it all works.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's your thing. I love a chorus boy. I love a backup boy. Any of those things, whenever anyone slags them off, like, oh, is he dating a chorus boy? I'm like, I could, like, that's the dream, to be a chorus boy.
You want to know something? You want to know who Anne Margaret has two special guests coming with her, and they're both, I believe, chorus boys who worked with her throughout the years.
Damn right.
She keeps with her guys. So I think that's a tribute to, those friendships.
Here's one more movie question that you may or may not have an answer to, because I'm springing it on you. Okay. For purposes of this question, you're single. I don't know what's going on there, but you're single.
Let's pretend.
You meet the love of your life standing in line at Cinecon. What movie's showing?
Meet the love of my life standing in line at Cinecon.
Or something like Cinecon.
Oh.
Like a Revival House or the New Beverly.
We're probably going to see Mildred Pierce then.
Interesting. The Joan Crawford.
Yeah.
That's fucking great. I remember watching that in college and being blown away by it. What is it about that makes you think, oh, we're meant to be together?
Well, I'm not a huge Joan Crawford fan. I like her. But that movie is, I think, such a well-constructed film.
Right.
And it's there's so many great moments in that movie and so many great lines. And so I did bring my current boyfriend to that movie. And I don't think he was as blown away by it as I was thinking. But he's also, like, let's be honest, he's not a huge classic movie fan. He's open to all movies.
Right on.
So he'll come to Cinecon and he'll go to classic films with me. But I can sit through a really bad classic movie. Yeah. Like, I'll watch a piece of crap and I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't very good, but I saw it. Check.
Yeah. And
a lot of people will get up and they'll leave the theater or they'll turn the TV off or they'll be like, are we really watching this?
Right.
But I think, so circling back to my first long-term relationship, we used to have a lot of jokes about Mildred Pierce. And so whenever we'd get into an argument, it was Anne Blythe and Joan Crawford.
Yep. Who were you?
I think I was usually, I'm going to say it was Anne Blythe. And I was usually
Vita.
Like, I I want to get away as far away from you as this house and the smell of pie.
Yes.
And I'd like storm out of the room. We had legendary fights. Me and my first boyfriend, whose name I shall not mention.
Who I think I know. I think you know. I think I met you for the first time around this time. All right.
Oh, you probably did. Yeah. Because you met me through John and Doug, and I was with him.
Yeah, that's my memory.
At that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he liked campy. He was into Valley of the Dolls.
Sure.
That was his big camp.
All right. But you would have like Mildred Pierce fights. Those are my movie questions. So we're going to remind everybody that they can go to Cinecon.org to find out about this wonderful weekend festival, Labor Day weekend, get their passes and come and see Anne Margaret and maybe Van Dorn, Juliette Mills.
Just like forget your troubles. Just like have fun.
Yes.
And now it's time for You Gotta Get On This, Dennis's pop culture picks of the week.
Okay, for my pop culture picks of the week, I already mentioned the two movies that I saw at the Film Out Gay Film Festival in San Diego, Sauna and 300 Letters, both of which I enjoyed. So keep an eye out for them if they surface on a streaming service or a festival or something. I enjoyed both of them. One of them, the first is from Denmark, and the second is from Argentina. So it's fun to see how the other gays live. The other movie I watched last week was The Intern, with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway. It was from about 2015. It was a Nancy Meyers movie. Robert De Niro is an older gentleman who ends up being an intern for Anne Hathaway's tech startup clothing company. So I had dinner with my roommate's mother and my roommate and her mother, Penelope, and her mother, Pat, at the new senior living place where Pat is living, and they show movies every night. So we had a lovely dinner, and then we decided to stay for the movie, which was The Intern. And in The Intern, Robert De Niro's character is so winning. Like, he's this man who has had a long, career and is retired and has lost his wife and is trying to be useful, so he applies as an intern, and his whole spirit in the whole movie is very helpful. I can do this. Like, he's just a calming presence. And Anne Hathaway, the big, busy boss, connects to that, and they sort of become friends. And it's how that sort of unfolds. And watching that movie at a senior citizen facility where, people, I'm sure I feel this way, and I'm 60. People feel like, oh, well, things are, nobody, I have nothing left to offer. Nobody seems to want anything from me. I think you can go there if you're in that age bracket, because that is kind of how the world feels sometimes. And so to watch a movie about a senior citizen who finds a new passion for something, a new place to be, a new way to be useful and productive, in a room full of seniors laughing and stuff like that, it was really special to be there. And De Niro is just so, he's known as a dramatic actor with all these incredible Scorsese movies and stuff like that, but he has like this really sweet presence in this movie where everyone just falls in love with him. Everyone at the company and everyone in the audience. And I think Anne Hathaway is good. She's a try-hard, what I like to call a try-hard, which is someone who's kind of earnest, and they work really hard, and this stuff's really important to them. And there's something about it that can sometimes be made fun of, the earnestness of it and the good student of it, the A student drama kid of it. But I find that kind of moving. Like Jennifer Lopez, I think, is a try-hard in a different way. Like, she's always going to give you 180%. And like, there's something she's trying to prove, but I find that sort of touching. And I'm super excited for Kiss of the Spider Woman. So Anne Hathaway has a bit of that. But man, does she have access to her emotions. Like, she can really move you. And their connection in the movie is interesting. And there was a bit of dialogue in it related to Anne Hathaway's husband's character, who was the stay-at-home parent, about how, the women's movement and workplace equality and things like that made huge strides, but men were sort of like not sure how to be in the world. And that's a dialogue that you hear today a lot. And I think it's a real thing. A podcast that I listened to recently, there was a guy on there, I believe his name's Richard Reeves. He writes about men and boys. I could be totally wrong about this, but the point the person was making was that, the world changed, and women threw out the old handbook and they have a new handbook. And men didn't get a new handbook. Like, they threw out the old one, but they didn't get a new one. Like, they don't quite know how to be. And there's scenarios and dialogue in this movie kind of about that. And this was like 10 years ago. So I thought that was kind of astute. And it was a pretty nice way to spend a Friday evening watching The Intern at the senior citizen residence. It was good. So those are my pop culture picks of the week.
And now it's time for Remember Magazines? They were a thing.
All right, this week in the magazine section, I want to talk about an interview I did with Sarah Jessica Parker way back in like 1995, long before Sex and the City. She had come out in a movie called Miami Rhapsody with Antonio Banderas, and she was just starting to get like ingenue roles, like hot girl roles, because she had sort of been the geeky sidekick before that. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the interview, but before that, I want to talk about the finale of And Just Like That. I have been watching all of the seasons. I usually go over to my friend Matt's place and we watch it. And, you know, don't always love it. There's lots of, it was very head scratching at times. Like, this show is so weird. I would say that over and over and over again. But the finale happened and I kind of liked the finale. I liked where they left Carrie. I was very moved by that. And spoiler alert, she ends up on her own. She doesn't end up with a guy. And the point they're making is that she can be fulfilled and fabulous and okay, and she can do it on her own. And it's a Thanksgiving episode, and throughout the show, she's sort of delivering pies that she ordered from her favorite place, but from Jackie Hoffman, and she's delivering them to the different homes of her friends. You know, so she's in this incredible outfit, this fuchsia tulle getup, and it's like Sex and the City always nails it when it comes to like the finale outfit, like that look that they've just been saving, and this one just delivered. And I think there was a hat that went with it. Who knows? And so she's going around delivering pies to people whose stories are more involved, or they're in a loving relationship, or they're with a new relationship. Like, you know, somebody just got engaged and somebody just got over cancer, and Carrie's just delivering pies to them. You know, she's not the one with the drama. She's just there to help, to bring a pie and some love. And then she sort of, they sort of give a lot of attention, I think, to her writing, and that she's worked on this new book. And initially, when she would read lines from the book, I thought, this book doesn't sound that good. But then, like, she bonded with Duncan, and Duncan, that British writer, thought it was really good. So I'm going to take Duncan's word for it. But is it weird that we're like, oh, the male writer must weigh in for us to think that Carrie's a good writer? But I think part of it is she's always so glamorous. She never looks like a writer who's like tearing their hair out, and like, you know, she's always just musing with a mug of coffee and a garden on her laptop. She's never like, oh, this fucking sucks. I hate myself. I'm going to throw the whole thing out. Like, she's never tormented by her writing in the way that every writer I know, including myself, is at times. But she ended up on her own, and there was something about it that moved me. And maybe it's because I'm on my own and I related to it. But I'm not mad at that finale of And Just Like That at all. Yeah. And so I'm going to miss like watching it with my friends and saying, this show is so weird. But I feel good about where Carrie is. And it touched me, and it sort of affirmed me, I guess. It sort of said, you know what? You're not a loser because you don't have a family or a partner. You're a full person. And it can be kind of fabulous. And so, yeah, that's where I came in on Sex and the City. So let me get out this old article. It was for British Premiere. It was probably from 1995. And, one of the things that, I thought was interesting is, she had been playing sort of, dorky girls, and she talked about like starting to be the sexy girl. And she said it was LA Story. And that was the Steve Martin movie. And she said that when that came out, I think all of a sudden people thought, well, maybe she can play attractive, which is interesting because Carrie Bradshaw was so attractive and she was always the love interest, and that was her whole thing. But before that, Sarah Jessica Parker's career wasn't really like that. And I asked her, I said, what was it like to play the Babe for the first time? And she said, oh my God, it was terrifying. I thought for sure they would fire me. I asked her if she got vicarious kicks out of playing someone who was so sexually progressive. And she said there was something sort of pleasant about it. It was sort of sanctioned, like legalized behavior that I wouldn't normally allow myself. I wouldn't normally dress in little tube tops and culottes, so it was really kind of fun not only to do it, but to be encouraged to do more of it. And then I asked her some of my observation deck questions. I asked her, what's the worst thing that ever gone wrong for you on stage? And she said she was playing Annie, and she was like 11, and people were laughing. There was something went wrong on stage, and everyone was laughing, and she kind of peed a little bit. Just a little puddle, but I asked her if she blamed it on the dog, and she said she couldn't because the dog wasn't on stage, but she survived it. And I don't think the audience knew. Here's her favorite movie snack, in case you were wondering. She likes to buy M&Ms, peanut or plain, and then dump them into the popcorn. So when she's watching the movie, she gets a little taste of both. I kind of like that. Let me see what else. Oh, she talks about, I asked her what it was like to be in Ed Wood and play the actress who wasn't that good in Ed Wood. I asked her if it was a challenge to play a bad actress, and she said, some might say it wasn't for me, but it is hard because you don't want to look at the camera and wink and say, isn't she a bad actress? You have to keep it real and not do a caricature. Tim, referring to Tim Burton, the director, didn't want to make fun of these people. And she talked about researching Glenn and Glenda and watching all of those movies. And she talked about the makeup they had to wear for Ed Wood, the black and white makeup. We used a base on all of us we called Tim Burton Pale. Like they literally named the base after the director. He likes people really, really pale. Like when we would go to lunch, if I had it on, people would think there was something terribly wrong with me. Let's see what else is in this article. I love that I got to talk to her. I loved reading this whole thing and thinking, at the time she was doing a play on Broadway called Sylvia, I think, where she played a dog. She talked about, I asked her where the strangest place that she's ever seen her own image is. And that used to be one of my favorite questions with celebrities. And she said she was shooting a movie in New York, and her trailer was parked on Fifth Avenue, and she looked up and my face was in the window right next to me. It was the Vanity Fair cover blown up really, really big on the side of a huge truck, and it had stopped at a light, and it had lined up my face perfectly with the window. I was on the phone with my friend, and I was like, because it was so odd, and my head was so big and awful looking. But I guess she was on one of those, remember Vanity Fair would do those big group shots with all the famous people in one? They were so iconic. We actually parodied that with my screening party book. Let's see, what else do we have in this article? This is the part that was so interesting. This was for British premiere. So, I asked her what she thought of the royals, or I said, do you have a Lady Di story? And then I'm going to try to read as much of this as I can. It kind of, the Xerox is kind of blurry. Okay. I worship her. First of all, one of those people who buys Hello Magazine. I woke up at whatever ungodly hour to watch the whole wedding. This was when Lady Di was still alive. I spent hours concerned about her well-being. I was really happy to hear that she was on a spiritual push when she knew that he didn't love her anymore. Then there was a royal premiere of LA Story. Have you ever seen her in person? She is more beautiful than you can imagine. She has skin that's literally like a peach. It's so beautiful. It's not fair. And I'm sitting literally one seat away from her for the whole movie. The movie's all about real love and waiting for the right person and all of these sort of grand gestures of love. And she's sitting there weeping. It was heartbreaking. I wanted to tell her, like, I care about you and I'll be your friend and I won't want anything from you. You can call me when you're upset and I'll be your friend. But I knew, but when am I going to, but wait. but no, I'm not going to tell her that. She'll think I was a lunatic. But yeah, I love that she felt such a connection to Lady Diana, and given what unfolded after that, it's just wild to read about that. So anyway, I'm going to raise a Cosmo to Sarah Jessica Parker, and I look forward to whatever she does next, because I think she's a terrific actress, and I'm okay with Carrie Bradshaw being alone. In fact, speaking of magazines, there was an article in the Hamptons issue of New York Magazine with Candace Bushnell, who wrote the book Sex and the City and is kind of loosely, the Carrie character, and she's alone in the Hamptons, and she talks about how hard it is to date and all of that stuff. So maybe it all came together in the way it was supposed to come together. All right, that's enough for this chunk.
And now it's time for Come On, Get Happy. Musings on the science of happiness.
This week in my happiness chunk, I want to talk a little about a book that I just finished reading. I mentioned it before, I believe, called Into the Magic Shop, a neurosurgeon's quest to discover the mysteries of the brain and the secrets of the heart. It's by James R. Doty M.D., and it's his personal story of childhood that was poor and really felt like a dead end, and how he met this woman who was the mother of the proprietor of this magic shop in his hometown of Lancaster, California, where they sell magic tricks and stuff. And the mother, Ruth, happened to be visiting her son for the summer and was there for several months, and kind of took young James, who was like 11, under her wing and would sort of have these sessions with him where she would talk to him about controlling his nervous system. She sort of taught him about meditation and visualization and all of these different sort of quote-unquote woo-woo tools that would help him sort of in his life. And I think he attributes her teachings to sort of getting him to believe that he can actually become a doctor, which was his dream. But he thought people from this kind of background don't become doctors. And what I liked about the book is the prose is very readable. It's very absorbing. It goes fast. It's not dense. He has an interesting voice. He can be irreverent at times. And the story is remarkable of this woman and taking this kid under her wing. And why did that happen? And he ends up sort of making all his dreams come true in terms of becoming a very successful surgeon and making a ton of money through different investments and things like medical devices and sort of, venture capital type stuff. And then he loses everything during one of the crashes. I think it was the .com bust of the late 90s. And so he goes from having everything that he ever wanted, all the cars, and he has a long list of cars that he has in the driveway, the Porsche and the Mercedes and the Range Rover and all of it. And he was buying an island in New Zealand. He had a villa in Florence. He had all these things that he had always envisioned for himself, right? And he loses everything. And I think he realizes that it's not about the stuff. His life he had sort of alienated his wife and daughter. And in pursuit of all of these things that he thought were going to make him happy, he had lost the most important thing. So his journey after that was to try to use his tools that he learned from the woman Ruth, things like meditation and visualization and compassion and these different tools to try to pursue a less selfish life and see if that could bring him happiness in a way that those stuff didn't. And so I like the book a lot, and he talks a lot about manifestation, and I'm starting his second book now, or maybe it's his third. I think it's called Magic Mind, something like that. But there's a neuroscientific principle to the way he talks about visualization, meaning this idea that if you visualize something and talk about it or put it on your dream board or whatever, if you sort of light a little bit of a fire under it in your mind and in your heart, it lives in your subconscious in a higher level. And so when things come up related to it, you're more likely to notice them. You're more likely to act. and this is kind of what I think about when I think about my dream board stuff. It doesn't change the world, the way the world reacts to me, but I think it changes the way I interact with the world. When I get a little time off and I have a little money in my pocket, well, I'm going to go to Mexico City because I've been dreaming about that for 7 years. It sort of keeps those things percolating in your life, and you notice things that you wouldn't normally notice if you hadn't done those visualizations or cut out a picture and put it on a board. That thing when you're going to paint your house and suddenly you're looking at house colors everywhere you go, or you're in the market for a new car and suddenly you see cars everywhere. It's kind of like that feeling. Like, it brings things to the more conscious place, and things can unfold from there. So anyway, in this book, Into the Magic Shop, he has this thing near the end called The Alphabet of the Heart. And it's sort of like, it starts at the letter C. It doesn't start at A, but these are principles that he tries to incorporate into his life and think about very consciously in the wake of losing everything and trying to come back, and rebuild his life and his career and his relationships. And I'm just going to share what the alphabet is. I don't think I need to go into a lot of detail about it, but I do think it's interesting, and I'm going to try to remember it and think about it myself. C is for compassion, which is obviously thinking about other people and understanding that everyone's going through stuff, which is sometimes we forget that. Dignity is D, which I think is interesting, and like having a kind of self-respect, right, and a way of moving through the world, and having, I don't know, a kind of way of being and thinking about yourself, having dignity. Equanimity is E, and it's always something that one of my favorite meditation teachers, Jeff Warren, talks about. And I guess it's just the state of being okay with whatever it is, and being okay with it. Like having this sort of thing like, oh, well, when things are great and when things are not so great, and having a sort of like, this is how it is now, without it being super emotional or triggering, being just kind of okay with what is. This is interesting to me. Forgiveness is his F. And I think about that sometimes. I think about, it's a value that I have become more proactive about. Like, there are people that have emerged in my life that I would have reasons to have grudges against them, or unsolved issues, or reasons to be let down or disappointed by them, and maybe vice versa, but whatever. But I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to forgive it. I don't want to carry around those resentments. If we went to the People's Court or the Judge Judy and laid out our case, I probably have a pretty good case for feeling these things, but I don't need to feel them. I don't need to carry them around. What if I just forgave them? What about that? And I think about that sometimes when I think about my father especially, and like how I felt like he wasn't interested in me, or couldn't regard me, or just didn't seem to care about my interior life. And I think I can forgive that. I can kind of look at like, how does this affect me? Are there patterns that are developed because of this, and can I counteract them in a way if they're not serving me? But I don't need to be mad at him. Because he was a product of his time. I don't know. He had a challenging upbringing, a lot of stuff. I can be like, you know what, that was okay. G is gratitude. I talk about that a lot. H is humility, which I think is interesting. I is integrity. I like that. I like that feeling like your whole life is of a piece, that it's not like, well, I'm a cutthroat jerk in business, but I'm, nice to my dog. Like, it's more like, okay, it's all of a piece. And how I move through the world is the same in the different environments. J is interesting. Justice. There lives within each of us a desire to see the right be done. Boy, I think that's hard to contend with now when things seem so unjust. Our president he gets away with everything. He gets away with everything. And so how do you think about justice when there are so many glaring examples of injustice in our world? And K is for kindness, which I often talk about a lot because everybody's awesome. And L is for love. I like that. That might be the last one. Let me see. Yeah, so he doesn't go through the whole alphabet. He goes from, I guess, C to L, and it ends with love. And I do think that is a value that can kind of encompass a lot of different things. So the love of what you do, the love of the people in your life, the love of yourself. You can just kind of try to turn it up like it's a burner on a stove, and you just try to turn up the quotient of that in a way. So there's that. I recommend this book. I think he's interesting, and the way he tells a story is vivid. He uses profanity from time to time. And it's tight. It's a tight read, and I really enjoyed reading it. And I think it's a big hit. Like, I don't know, I've been sleeping on it. I didn't know about it until I heard him recently on the Dan Harris podcast, I think. But like the One Direction, not One Direction, BTS, the K-pop band, I think they're big champions of this book. And like, I think they had a song named after one of the titles or something like that. Anyway, BTS, if it's good enough for BTS people, it's good enough for all of us. So that's my happiness chunk of the week. It was a lot this week. I look at my days and all the different things that are going on, and there are a lot of fun ones. I'm really into all of them. And, you know, most of them don't pay much. And like, what am I doing? But I'm like, oh, I'm into that. Oh, I'm into that. Oh, I'm into that. So we're just going to keep going. And I thank you for everyone that's joined me along the way. My final plug of the week is Search Party, the party game that I'm developing with my friend Jeb Havens. We're going to have them available in the fall for people. And so come hell or high water or tariffs. And so we're taking pre-orders now to help us pay for the printing. It's just $25, and you'll get a wonderful party game that will delight you over the holidays. And you go to youdon'tknowmylife.com/search party to learn about that. We also have some fun perks. One of the perks is for $100. You get a copy of the game, but you also get to design a card that will live in the game forever. So each of the cards in the game has like a fun turn of phrase on it, like tight squeeze or more than a mouthful or the elephant in the room. And so you get to come up with whatever you want that to be, and then we figure out an image to go with it. The people that have done it so far actually provided their own photographs, so we used those photographs and came up with a fun catchphrase to go with it. So you can do that too. youdon'tknowmylife.com/search party. That does it for this week. So say good night, calm, soothing, meditative Milo.
Good night, calm, soothing, meditative Milo.
Wow, I really like the way he drug that whole thing out. Yeah, totally meditative. Thumbs up. So there you go, an episode of Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. We'll be back to our regular interview format next week. I have a very exciting guest that I'm really excited to talk to. It's supposed to happen tomorrow, but I'm not going to tease it in case it falls through. So there's that. But it's somebody that I'm really excited to talk to. They wrote a book and I'm really into it. So there's that. So I did lots of So This Happened in the Happy and Gay episode I just showed you. But one other thing has happened since I recorded that, which is I had a conversation about a reverse mortgage. I'm thinking of getting one. It would solve a lot of problems for me where I'm at in my life. And I'm learning about them and how it works. But if you have any insights about that, any thoughts, if you're in your car screaming, don't, or, hey, I did that and it worked out for me, feel free to reach out to me, dennis@dennishensley.com. I'm intrigued by this possibility. So there's that. All right. That's enough for this week. I want to thank Oscar Rosario for always mixing my episodes. My theme music is by Mark Daniels for Placement Music. We'll catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.